Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for this Ignite Leadership series. I'm really excited to be bringing you some fabulous leaders. We're going to have candid conversations. We're going to learn from their experience and hopefully get some really valuable morsels out of this series. So the reason why I've put this together is I have been in the industry for 20 years. I've been working with fabulous people. I've met some extraordinary leaders. I've helped build some extraordinary teams, and I really wanted to bring some of the knowledge and experience that I have come across to as many people as possible. So I've chosen LinkedIn Live to do this. I hope this forum works for everybody, and I will be here at 11:30 every Thursday until I run out of leaders to talk to, and I hope it's helpful for you. I've just put together this very short video to launch us each week so that people can see us go live, they can jump on board, and they know we're here. So bear with me, we will be going live at 11:30 as promised. So why is this important? This is important because it's to be good at what you do. It's really important to model good people. So if you want to be the best, model the best. And I have worked with so many wonderful leaders and helped them build teams. I've seen some really fabulous leadership styles. I've seen people who've developed over time as leaders, and the fastest way to do that is to, yes, there's theory, but let's move away from theory a little bit and let's look at what really happens in these roles with these people, and let's learn from the mistakes that some of the leaders have made. So I suppose I'm bringing mentors to the table through the experience that I have and the people who I have met over the years. So hopefully it's inspiring to you. Hopefully it's a place where you will gain some valuable information. Even if you pick up one thing from the conversation we're having each week, then that will be enough for me to feel as if I've brought you value. So I really do hope that you receive value from this. What I would love from you is if you can let us know you're here. Obviously we're live on LinkedIn. We would love interaction from you to know that you're here, you're listening. Let us know if there's something that comes up for you that resonates with you, something that you want to ask. The aim will be 20 minutes of conversation and then 5 to 10 minutes of Q&A, depending on how we end up. So hopefully that works for you all. As I say, please interact with us, engage. And if you would like a transcript of this session, I'm going to share transcripts with people who come to me and ask for them, and I will also put together a document which will be all of the key takeouts, the key learnings that we've received from each session. So I'll also be able to share that with you if you pop a comment in at the end of the conversation. So really excited to be here once again. Let's get on with it. I will see you on the other side. Good morning. Hello. Hi, Jonathan.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. We have an issue with LinkedIn. This is the first time I've had an issue with LinkedIn, so I'm just trying to work it out. I'm, at this stage, not sure that we're actually live on LinkedIn. But we're going to keep going, and we will share the recording with people if they've missed it. So it's there's just I can't seem to make it work. So let's just keep going. Sorry, this is the first glitch I've had. It went live for a second and then it changed its mind again. But let's get started. So welcome to Jonathan. Thank you to everybody for being here. I'm going to give you a quick intro on Jonathan and who he is. It looks like we've gone live finally, so fingers crossed. So Jonathan is very passionate about the power of technology to transform business and positively impact humanity. Sorry, it's distracting me because it keeps jumping off live. Jonathan's currently a Senior Director and General Manager for Oracle Cloud in Australia and has a long history of working with Microsoft prior to that and Microsoft partners in various leadership roles. and he's a seasoned leader with an incredible ability to get the right people in the right roles on his team. And I know this because of the feedback I have from people in the industry. I've known Jonathan for a long time, and I've seen him create some exceptional teams. And so he's very, very good at getting people on board in the right environment who have a shared vision and I suppose shares that vision with them. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Very excited you're going to share this with us.
Yes, no problem. No problem.
And sorry, just if you're sorry for anybody who's watching on LinkedIn, we're going to be sharing the recording with you. If we don't get live, we have a little glitch in the system. So, Jonathan, I'd love to start by asking you, how did you get into leadership? And, did it find you? Did you find it? Tell us a bit about your journey so far.
No, I think, I think I kind of early on charted my own path. It's been meandering. I've done, everything from consulting, technical consulting and engineering to pre-sales, technical operations. I've done lots of different kind of jobs, but in every job, it's always been the people. If I think of all my great friends and all the great relationships I have today, it's all the people that I've worked with over the years in different environments. So, and as I've taken over new teams and I've kind of done what I do. A lot of people say to me, we've never had this before. This is new to us. So, I've definitely charted my own path as far as kind of team leadership and what I do from a team perspective. And then, of course, as you do, steal the great ideas from the great leaders and good things that you get involved in along the way. So, I'd say right from from high school, I've always kind of known the way, gone the way, and then kind of brought other people along for the ride. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worst, especially talking about school.
And so, what made you decide that you were a leader? Did someone tell you that you were a leader, or did you decide it?
No, I think there's a difference between being a manager and being a leader. You can lead from anywhere in an organization. And I've worked in sales for the last sort of 15 years or so, and I say to the salespeople that I work with as individual contributors, you are leaders. Salespeople in technology companies, particularly the size and scale of Oracle and others, have to be leaders because you've got to pull cross group teams together. So, and I think there's a big difference between leadership and management. And it wasn't until probably maybe 20 years ago that I had my first real management position, where I had a team and I had to transform and all that sort of stuff. And I realized that a lot of the skills that I'd learned at school, in the military, in the early part of my career, set me up for leadership. So it's I kind of I've always, I guess, been doing the job of a leader, even when I've been an individual contributor, which I've done as recently as sort of 12 or 13 years ago.
I love that. That's so important. So many people see that, there's a line between that. So you're either an individual contributor or you're a leader. And if you embrace every day and everything that you do as if you are a leader, with what they call the leadership mindset, I think that's a really powerful way to build your career, whether you choose to go into leadership or not. So, fantastic. Yeah. So you've obviously had mentors. Who are the sort of mentors that have stood out for you? What have been key learnings that you think you've sort of picked up that helped you spring into leadership?
Yeah, I guess, from the late 90s right up until early 2013, I'd always worked at Microsoft and other big corporates. And then I went and I ran a mid-sized business for a couple of years. And it wasn't until I left the warmth and comfort of, big corporate life that I realized I had mentors. They were on tap. There were managers and people across the organization that I could engage with and ask questions. And then I landed in this role. And, as some of my former managers have said, it's really lonely at the top. And I realized I needed a mentor, and I got an external mentor for that role. And it's somebody I've maintained a relationship with today. Fortunately, we can talk rugby and all those sorts of things, him being English. But more importantly, he gave me a lot of really necessary guidance and support during a kind of tough transition. But it kind of made me remember back to walking into. I'd moved from a pre-sales technical leadership role into marketing in about 2005 or 2006. And I walked into my boss's office, Heather, her name is, and she was going on at me about these pricing waterfalls. And I said, "What's a pricing waterfall?" And she looked at me with this blank expression and said, "Oh boy, you really don't have a clue what we're doing here." And for the next 18 months, she really coached and mentored me to the point where I then took over the Windows and Windows Mobile business in South Africa. And that transition could not have happened if she hadn't invested in me as an individual. And I took a lot of learning out of that experience. There've been, I got a lot of really specific feedback from one of the other members, Henny, who was on the SLT at the time. And the specific feedback was not you're incompetent, because I was competent, I knew what I was doing, but it was maturity. Was I doing the right thing for the business and for the people, or was I taking an emotionally based approach? Which people who know me know that's something that I continue to struggle with. But that really specific feedback was very important, and I've been very lucky to work for a manager recently who's definitely used the words I don't do fluffy in the past, and that manager gave me very specific feedback about what I needed to do to grow as a leader, as a leader, as a manager, and in the business that I was running at the time. And I think that very specific feedback was really, really important. And I'll just add one more thing. I've been very lucky, both in South Africa and here in Australia, to have professional business coaches who gave me very specific feedback. That's been really impactful in terms of helping grow my career, having an external opinion, somebody who's helping you work on very specific things. Early on it was about managing up and managing across. More recently it was more about career planning, but having somebody very specifically working on things in a very defined amount of time, based on defined framework, I think is a really powerful developmental tool if you want to take the next step from a leadership perspective. Yeah,
fantastic. Sorry, I'm looking around a little bit because we are live now on LinkedIn. Just good to know. And I was just trying to see if people are getting on, because I'm not getting any comments. But I think that we probably are. We just So we're all set. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And I think what I took from what you just said is very much around awareness as well. So had you chosen to, ignore, or you didn't have the awareness, then, there's a good chance you wouldn't be where you are now. So, I think it's a choice to kind of pick that up. And so another question for you. I was speaking to you recently, and you mentioned to me, and I loved what you said, that there are 3 things you can't outsource. And one of the things you said was the financial overview, and that was a lesson I have to say I've learnt in business over 20 years. Probably learnt it a little bit too late. And so talk to me about the others. I think one was around people. And people planning. So can you talk to us about that a bit?
Yeah, so I think there are 3 things that you definitely can't outsource, and I'll just quick funny adjunct on. There's a great series on Netflix which I wasn't aware of until recently, called Schitt's Creek, which is predicated on a family that didn't pay attention to the financial oversight, which it's really important. You can't outsource that. The detail is important. And you've got to be across it. But the other 2 things are equally as important, and that is recruiting your team is your responsibility. You cannot expect a recruitment team to know exactly what you're looking for, to know people that you trust, people that that you're going to struggle to work with. That you have to build your team, and you have to trust your team to build theirs. And then the third thing is hard conversations. You can't let HR or sales operations or some other part of the business have a tough conversation with an individual. Tough conversations are, to your point before, awareness is, sometimes a tough conversation is what's required to bring something to somebody's awareness, and you really can't outsource that. And I've seen that outsourced in the past with really, really poor results. And generally, I've had to have some really tough conversations throughout my career, and some I think I've handled pretty well, and others, I'm not proud of. But the gist of the conversation is really important. Is having those tough conversations is your responsibility as a leader, as much as recruiting your team or the financial oversight of your business.
Absolutely, yeah. And that was something that, I don't know if you saw the interview with Chris Ridd a few weeks ago. He talked about that, and the behaviour that you walk past is the behaviour that you accept, which is a fantastic line as well. So yeah, thank you for that. And so just on the sort of hiring and bringing the people into your team, because I know that that's something that's really important, and I've noticed that whenever you step into a new role, that's something that you really focus on, is making sure you've got the right people in the right roles. And you mentioned people planning. So what do you mean by that? How do you actually do that when you step into a role?
Yeah, I think, I've seen a very haphazard approach to this in the past. And from my perspective, if you don't know what you want, you're going to get what you deserve. So it starts with knowing, what's the vision of the team? What are you there to achieve? What is the goal? And then, you've got to do the work to understand. So if you think of the team as a bus, have we got the right people sitting on the right seats on the bus? And sometimes you've got the right people just sitting on the wrong seats. And sometimes, people are on the wrong bus, and that's okay. That's, again, it's just all about awareness. Once you've figured out what you want and what you've got, then it's important that the individuals in the team have development plans. And that's, it's not that everybody in the team should aspire to be a leader, because that's, you definitely don't want that. But you want, people have their own aspirations, their own goals, things that they want to achieve, and that should be in their individual development plan. And you as leaders should have awareness of what those things are. I worked with somebody reasonably recently who was an outstanding account manager. And she wanted to be in corporate social responsibility, but at a point at which she could afford to do that, right? There's a financial reality, and the account management and sales role provides her the financial security to step out into a corporate social responsibility role. And knowing that helps you plan for, plan what you're going to do with your team, plan what you're going to do, particularly for the individual. And you want to stretch, you've got to know who your top performers are. You want to stretch those people. Again, if they want to be leaders, give them opportunities to kind of trial that, secondments, opportunities really to stretch their abilities. And then, actively looking for opportunities for those people who are ready to move. I think that's critical. And I've worked for some people who've done this really well. And I've worked for some people who've done this really poorly, is, they kind of hold on to their team and you can't go anywhere. Don't leave me. I'm completely the opposite. I want people in my team to feel like they can be developed and go on to do bigger and better things, which I think is really important. And a lot of those people I could see myself working for one day, because they've got those leadership qualities, and we're able to work on those individual plans. So the people plan is really about knowing what you want, being very clear about what you want, knowing then what you've got, and then helping the individuals themselves plan their careers and meet their personal objectives while they're with you for a short time.
Yeah. And in turn, that achieves your objectives, right? So people are striving to grow and stretch and develop, and that's really important, I think, when you trying to innovate and do things differently and better. So yeah, that's fantastic. Awesome. I'm just firstly, let me just stop for a second and say hi everyone. We can see you now. I can see your comments. It's great to have you here. Wendy will be out soon. She's what it says, hello world, week 1,000,009. I can't even say the number of lockdown in Melbourne. Please send help. So we're here to help, just to lighten your day a little bit. Hi Charlene. Hi Jason. Good to have everyone here. We will keep going. I just wanted to acknowledge that I know you're there, and thank you. And so just in terms of what you've just described, you've also given me a couple of examples there, which is great. You mentioned an example of someone that last time we spoke, someone who was in a great role in the US now with Microsoft, I think. So that was somebody who you said you had identified who probably didn't have the traditional background coming into the role. So you're open to hiring people from outside of the technical specialist or the technical experience. What does it look for when you're hiring those people?
Yeah, look, skills can be learned if you have the motivation to learn them. And I think we're seeing a lot of that in Melbourne, particularly at the moment, with people coming up with really innovative ways to get out and have a bit of fun. But the point is, motivation is critical. Do people want to turn up and be better and do this job, or is it just a job? So I really look for what I call aptitude and attitude. So not everybody learns at the same pace. I know, I'm trying to teach myself guitar at late in life, and I definitely don't learn as quickly as some of my younger cousins and friends. But I'm, have the motivation to learn, and I look for that in individuals. Is do you turn up? Do you want to learn? Are you going to put the time in? So I've worked for corporates for a long time. Nobody ever complains about the training in corporate environments, but it's important because it's how you get better. Some of the training's really dry, some of it's really good, but the important thing is that you're developing the skills. And I can't force you to do that. You've got to have the motivation to do that. So I look for that. Self-awareness goes along with that. If it's just a job, then maybe my team's not the best place, because I don't do just a job. I'm too invested in the outcome. I'm too invested in the people, and I want people to be invested in themselves. So I look for that. Skills and experience, in my experience, are not as important. And I think it was, I can't remember who said it, but if we always relied on experience, we would never have put a man on the moon. That's one of the one-line mantras that I like is the experience and specific skills are not important. The aptitude and the attitude is really, really important in terms of your own success.
Yeah, thank you, and I love that the man in the moon comment as well. That's fantastic, and something that a lot of people have a nervousness around hiring people from left of field, and so just quickly touch on that experience you've had where you did bring in someone who was from left of field and they've sort of flown in their career in the industry, just to sort of give people that works. Yeah,
look, definitely. I hired a person in early 2000s who'd come from the restaurant industry. He was a contractor. It was introduced to me by a couple of my colleagues, and there was just in the conversation about what this guy was going to do and how he was going to do it. There was just I guess the best way to describe it is there was a twinkle in his eye. And James, I'm sure, is not watching, but he knows I'm talking about him. And he came into the team smart, capable, and hungry to learn. Really hungry to learn. Look for every opportunity to outshine, and take on more and do more. And I remember actually we put him on an airplane on a Wednesday to go to the US to get a new piece of technology and bring it back and demo it to 10 of South Africa's top CIOs at the time of the CIO Summit. And, with very little sleep, he landed in the room and did an absolutely amazing job. And this was a guy who, 2 years before had been running a restaurant. And, he now he's got a very senior role within the sales operations group at Microsoft. And maybe one day, who knows, I'll work for him again.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It could really happen. It happens a lot. Yeah, fantastic. No, thank you for that. And I just, again, just really showing that when you invest in someone who has all the right elements, then, things can be really successful. And I have to say, over the years, I've had some great success bringing left of field people into teams and watching them absolutely thrive. So you've got to have the right leadership as well. So that's really important. Kudos to you too for that. You just mentioned mantras, just really quickly. One of the mantras I love that you use a lot is what was it? It's you win some, you learn some.
Yep.
And so that's really cool. Are there any other mantras that you would share that have been valuable for you in terms of your thinking?
Yeah, look, everybody who knows me knows I'm the king of one-liners. I love the one-liner, and I take the one-liners, I steal them from other people like Richard Branson and Simon Sinek. But I really the one that sticks with me, and particularly when I'm talking to the team, is progress over perfection. Because I think a lot of people turn up every day, they want to do a great job, and they trip over and fall flat on their face. And I think as a leader, or as a parent, the way that you deal with failure and how you help people when they fail is really important. And it's for me, it's an important point of learning, and it's kind of how I've learned. I've made lots and lots of mistakes throughout my career, both as a leader and as an individual contributor. So progress over perfection is definitely one of my long-standing one-liners. And the other one, which I've stolen recently from Simon Sinek, is failure we can do alone, but progress always takes help. Success always takes help, and that that's it's really important in the job that I do today, given that we're in the midst of a transformation and gaining quite quick momentum. But it's served me well in my previous role and in the role before that. So.
Fantastic. I think that's a very entrepreneurial, a couple of those things you've said there, very entrepreneurial way of thinking. And, if you look at all the best successful business people in the world, they never achieved success on the first take. So including Branson and, pretty much all of them, that fall over and get back up and learn from those things. So it's a fabulous thing to sort of instill in your people as well. Really cool. We are very close to time. We've got 5 minutes left. I'm just going to check and see if we've got any questions. I'm looking. I think we've mostly got people agreeing and thanking you for your insights and your input. Any questions, guys, please throw it in sorry. What's biltong? Andrew.
Andrew wants to know what biltong is. Well, I mean, it's basically raw rotten meat, and South Africans love it. And you're not allowed to bring it in. You have to make it in Australia. So, plug for Protea Foods in Cheltenham. They make great biltong.
Okay, yeah. Andrew Hillman says, enjoying some biltong while listening to you, JH. So there you go. Here we go. I've got hello from Marwa. Omar, totally agree with your comments about aptitude and attitude. When you're interviewing, apart from intuition, how to judge it? I ask because I'm interviewing candidates for a non-sales role, which I've never had to do before. And at the moment I'm struggling a little to assess them. So that's a great question. Thank you, Marwa.
So I'd say two things. First is you don't have to assess them on your own. Get other people to help you. Somebody who's done it before, get an opinion. You don't have to take their opinion, but just get an opinion from somebody you trust. For me, it's how do you demonstrate that you are committed to learning something, that you're committed to getting a better outcome, and often I've been recruiting a lot of sales roles over the last few years. The question that I love the most is to follow. Tell me about the deal you're most proud of, and then tell me about the deal you lost. Tell me about the deal that didn't go so well, or you were really anguished about, and you really wish you'd won. And that the way that the individual handles that question, tells me everything I need to know. And I don't know your specific situation, Moa, and feel free to give me a call. We've known each other a long time, but you want the person to demonstrate that they've not done it well, and they've had the ability to learn, or they've had to do something that they didn't know how to do, and they've demonstrated some ability to learn, how to go about those things. So I think it's a great question.
One thing, and can I add to that? That's fantastic. And what I would say, Mara, is obviously outside of sales, it is a little more difficult, but I would ask them to talk about something they're proud of that they've achieved, and probably something that they learned from, or something where it didn't go quite so well. So similar type scenario. And what I look for is how they handle the actual question, in terms of body language, in terms of comfort levels. Are they ready for a question like that? In terms of awareness. So, are they aware of, is this something they think about? Because if it's not something they think about, then they're probably not thinking about the right things. So, that's a little bit from me as well. And as Jonathan said, by all means, check in. Happy to share any further advice on that. Any other questions? Thank you. And Mara was just thanking you for that. I think we're good for questions. I have one more question, and my sort of ultimate finishing question is, you've got a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience. If it came down to you only being able to share one thing with upcoming leaders in terms of something that's really important that will have a big impact on their success in leadership, what would that one thing be?
Again, great question. I think there's so many dimensions to leadership, but at the end of the day, it's about the people. So if you focus on the people, they'll focus on the results. They'll get the results. Your job as a leader, I think, is to focus on putting the guardrails up, providing the guidance, setting the vision, curating the culture. But all those things are all about helping people. Providing clarity to the people in terms of what their roles are, how they contribute to the broader goal. It's about the people. So if you do nothing else but focus on your people, you'll build a sustainable and strong and resilient business.
Yeah, I love that. That's absolutely right up my alley. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. One more question. Wendy Hampson has asked you to tell her about your worst hire.
It actually was fairly recent. I hired somebody based on instinct, who just was not set up for success. She came into the organization. She could get the meetings, and in fact, I didn't take. It's a great question, Wendy. I didn't do what I subscribe to. This is, I guess, one of my not so proud moments. Is she came in, she could get the meetings, she could open the doors, but she wasn't invested in the training. So she wasn't reskilling herself. She didn't last long in the role, unfortunately, for that reason. And I can't do the training for her. I can't put the chip in her head. She's got to do that work. She wasn't doing the small things on a daily basis to set herself up for success, and I missed that for a long time. And by the time I got around to putting the guardrails back up, it was a little bit too little, too late.
Thank you so much for your vulnerability on this call, or on this conversation. I just want to acknowledge you for being so open and honest with us. And that's the beautiful thing about the people that I'm having into these conversations is, sharing real live examples and experiences, and, being human to share that with other humans. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I think we're done. A lot of people are thanking you for the one-liners. I think I love your one-liners. So yeah, it's that's very cool. So thank you so much. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me. And thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, sorry about the glitches at the beginning, everybody, but we will see you soon. If you want a transcript of this, please, or if you want the key takeouts, I'll be putting together a document. Would love to share it with you. If you just reach out and ask, I will send it through. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rebecca. Cheers, everyone.
All right. Next week we have Carl Seiss on. So if anybody is interested in Carl talk, we'll be here 11:30 with Carl next week. All right. Looking forward to it. Take care. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful you managed to take time out to spend with us. I hope you got some value from the conversation. And just a reminder, I will be here every Thursday at 11:30 talking to another fabulous leader and bringing you more great morsels and value and mentoring. So please do join me. And if there's anything you would like to talk about when it comes to attracting, developing, retaining high-performing teams, please reach out. I would love to have a conversation. If you would like a transcript of the session, please remember to leave me a message or get in touch, and I'll also produce a document which will have the key takeouts from today's session, so I can share that with you too. All right, thanks again. Have a fabulous day. I will see you next time.